Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody, and good evening here from the Temple of Silence. Maybe sometime some of you will have the opportunity to visit this beautiful little temple that the building for which Tuya has overseen. And it's very ecumenical, you know. I'm looking around and I see a number of the world religions brought together, especially, of course, Christianity and Buddhism, or Buddha and the Christ, the two great world saviors, and the presence of the former Maitreya is strongly here as well. And there's the Buddha in his reclining posture, which I could show to you. We have Kuan Yin here, and we have Mary, the disciple Mary, mother of Jesus, and it's a little story of a period of salvation which came to humanity at the end of a very big cycle. I think, how does DK describe it? Around the time that Jesus was born. We can't really talk about the Christ being born because, you know, already he had been head of the hierarchy for some 500 years. Already there a great cycle of 250,000 years was coming to an end. Now, if we had atmic consciousness, and especially consciousness on the third subplane of the atmic plane, because, you know, just because your consciousness has penetrated to a plane does not mean that every subplane is somehow conquered. Take a look at this and you see what I mean, if I can make it work. Yeah, like many of us, we may have consciousness on its fourth subplane, which involves the base of spine, sacral center, solar plexus center of the mental body. But it's not the same as crossing the dotted line. And when we cross the dotted line, we are definitely into the first phase of the causal body. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that to have your consciousness positioned on one of these cosmic subplanes does not mean that you have conquered every subplane within that subplane. Actually, as you may know, there are 343 subplanes in our cosmic physical plane, and look, it's a big adventure. We're going to have to learn how to hold a point of tension at each area where we might come into something new. And we're not there yet, obviously, you know. So these are technicalities which one could bear in mind. And sometimes the technicalities can be very useful. It's not just book learning, but it kind of helps orient you as to, you know, what really is going on here. Let's say students of Master DK, well, they may be emotionally involved and even what you might call emotionally polarized, because mental polarization, I don't mean mental focus, I mean mental polarization, does not take place except at the midway point between the second initiation and the third. And when you think about it and you look at, excuse me, DK's some 50 students or so, the ones he was writing letters to, hardly any of them had passed the second initiation, because that's really where, you know, the hierarchical life begins. You enter the stream. And if you want to get a very good and old and sort of poetic description of all that, you might get hold of that nice little book from Blavatsky, which is, I think, a translation of something much older, and it's called The Secret of the Golden Flower. And it tells you about entering the stream and being borne along by the stream towards the ashram, towards the third initiation. The only thing is, there's a little bit of a stopover in the desert where you have to prove to your own incarnation of the devil, lower personality, that you are mastering those kinds of tendencies, the three temptations in the desert. And then on you go into the Syrian method of initiation. So look, it's all laid out. There's a tremendous system here in which we are playing our part, and it's logical, just makes sense from beginning to end, and it tells us what we really have to do, rather than just leaving this to faith and belief and some kind of emotional decision. I've been through those emotional decisions in my life, recapitulating decisions earlier made. You know, sometimes you recapitulate what you've gone through before in preparation for what you have to go through ahead. And I know they can be very powerful. But folks, we should be beyond a tent gathering where the strictly emotional decision, which leads to the first initiation eventually, is requested of those who are attending. We're operating in a more esoteric, occult, mental manner, and our planet is very much the planet Mercury and even the planet Uranus. You know, those two are a pair. And if we're going to have any Neptune in how we respond, it's going to be, should be, a higher form of Neptune. See, look, weave it all together. There's nothing that DK wrote, I'm going out on a limb here, but I think it's true, that cannot be related to something else he wrote. It's all one big book with many books. I'm going to use the word now, implicate within the one big book consisting of all his writings. So, you know, increasingly what I'd like to do, maybe I mentioned it, I don't know. I would like to take some of these little books. I was looking today at Telepathy and the Etheric Vehicle. Alice Bailey, Foster Bailey, Regina Keller, some of the some of the people who were more instrumental in helping to establish Alice Bailey's work in New York back in the 1920, 21, 22, were in that group, for which he wrote Telepathy and the Etheric Vehicle. And I think it's not a long book. I think it would be so nice for us to be able to have that. Meanwhile, we have the Reappearance of the Christ. 2 years reading from that every time, pretty much every time we have a Reappearance of the Christ meditation. Occasionally, if she's somewhere else, I will be the one who's doing the reading and kind of the explaining of things. There are a lot of little books that it really pays to understand at this time of our studies. An intensification of assimilative, can I use a word like that? Of assimilated study is needed now for us to be ready for the Tibetans' gift package. Of the third installment. 2025, really, around 2025. So those of you who are younger, stay alert to what is given and don't be fooled by ambitious, well-meaning people. Don't be fooled. Put it to a test, a tough test. Could any human being that I know have written this on their own? Do your best with it. Or did it require the knowledge of a master, the consistency, the revelation, the light pouring forth? Did it require the presence of a master really to do it? It's quite a thing choosing correctly, and for a long time, the theosophists, many of them, did not choose correctly, and they basically ignored or made fun of or mocked what Alice Bailey was doing, even though she was coming up with things like a treatise on cosmic fire. But, you know, there's that old song about the health food addict, and it's called At Night I'm a Junkyard. At night I'm a junk food junkie. So they would go off to the refrigerator and eat a bunch of junk food, even though they showed everybody else they were eating nothing but what's good for you. And these same people, they said, I'd never have anything to do with Alice Bailey, and at night the candle is lit and there's the study of Alice Bailey. So stay alert. Stay alert. Now I want to welcome you, since I've gone on a bit here, to Annette, hi, and Brennan and Britta, and Catherine, Chris, Daisy, and Diana, and Helen. Welcome, Helen. Ishtar, and Judy, and Jan. And Jetta. Jetta, welcome, or maybe Yetta, I don't know. Joan and Johi, and Karen, Leslie, and Lona, and Lorraine, and Martha Gallahue, and Natney, Nicole, and Nienke, and Regina. It looks like Regina to me, and Risto, and Tia, TU, and Zenaidi, and Anne Veronica. Welcome, and Over on the other side, Julia, let's see, here it is. Joe, Michael, and Tuya are giving us a hand on the staff side of things. All right, now let's get on with our reading. And gosh, I've got a lot of things open, don't I? Well, until it freezes up on me, I'll leave them open. Okay. So Michael tells me, here we go. We're basically, this is webinar 64 in our Science of Triangles. And we're on page 477. I just want to read right ahead the paragraph just ahead, which I probably have read a few times, but it's so good. It's so directive, you might say. Shirk not these crises. I guess we all, in our long history of being a human being, pass through many crises. Some are rather personal, and others have a deep spiritual implication. Shirk not these crises. Hard and difficult, though they may appear to be. Difficult they are. Forget not that the habit of confronting crisis is a long established one within the consciousness of humanity. And notice that these crises are so much about what happens in consciousness. Anything may happen to the physical form. You know, it may survive, it may not survive. Doesn't necessarily mean it's one of these deep crises, but we are a member of the fourth kingdom of nature, and we are a member of the fourth creative hierarchy of monads, known by the name on those higher levels as the initiates. So anyway, man has the habit of crisis, if I may so call it. And DK somewhere said, well, look, you're not having a crisis. Why aren't you having a crisis? They are only, and this is the idea here, if you're willing to be in school, because every planet is a big school here, they are only points of examination as to strength, purpose, purity, and motive, and the intent of the soul. It's a great definition there. Points of examination. And you know, if I were to go to this particular, let's see here. I'm in esoteric astrology, and right afterwards comes esoteric healing. And then you know, just go backwards a little bit, and there's what's happening on different planets. So if you pass through all these crises on Earth, you have been to school over a long period of time. And it's called the School of Magnetic Response. And I'm sure you'll agree with this one. Another name is given to its pupils, is the graduates of painful endeavor, or adjudicators. It means those who judge, who pass judgment between the polar opposites, you know, namely soul and personality, or spirit and matter. And its graduates are said to undergo examination upon the third subplane of the astral plane, the highest of the Brahmic subplanes of the astral plane. And remember, I also told you, and you also know, that the earth is called the school of purifying pain, purifying pain and releasing sorrow. Well, you may say to yourself, how did I get on a planet like this? There's other places maybe my monad could have settled down, but we're not in a position to answer such a question, and later it will be revealed what brought you. As an emanation of the one great universal life, what brought you to this little planetary scheme, this fourth chain, and this fourth globe, probably the globe on which the most suffering occurs of any place in the universe, not that universe, solar system. I can't talk about the universe, it's just too big. All right, so that's a little background, and when you overcome your crisis, it's worth repeating, you have confidence in yourself as a spiritual being. DK says, always trust to the God within, the inner God. Now, so few people know how to really be the inner God yet. The high initiates know this. And one day, people like ourselves, we will know this as well. We will have the confidence. We will have expanded vision. It's all a great adventure. And when you overcome these crises, then compassion, understanding, and the pain, all that stays with you. You never forget it, he says here. For they draw upon the resources of the heart. Now remember, the fourth initiation is particularly the one which is resonant with the number 4, and it is the excruciating, which means related to the cross, crucis, the excruciating initiation about which we read so much in the West, the crucifixion of Jesus. But in the East, it's called the Great Renunciation, and we're all headed for it sooner or later. But we have to prove ourselves first. It's not to say, look, I want to take the fourth initiation. You have to prove yourself worthy to take it. And the resources of the heart and soul are called forth in order to help you succeed. And you find yourself releasing the light of wisdom within the field of knowledge and enriching the world. Now, if you're going to take the fourth initiation, a very strong tendency towards contribution is needed. This is a forgiving initiation. The initiation is for giving everything you've got and for emptying the bowl, in the chalice, so to speak, in this causal body or egoic lotus. So much is accumulated, and between the third and fourth initiation, you really learn how to share all that and give it to humanity for the best purposes. So, the future is beautiful. Humanity is going through a crisis right now, large scale, just the way we would if we were going through that same crisis. It's the crisis before the first initiation of humanity. And that crisis involves two planets you don't want to mess with, two first-rate planets, Pluto and Vulcan. Now, and some of you probably know this, but repetition never hurts when there is perhaps a little uncertainty. You open your Bailey books and you basically go to your astrology book and you go to page 70. And actually 71 will tell the story. And this is what humanity is going through right now. And as some of you, well, you may be going through it yourself, even right now, or have a memory of having passed through this recently. At the first initiation, the disciple has to contend with the crystallizing and destroying forces of Vulcan and Pluto. The influence of Vulcan reaches to the very depths of his nature, whilst Pluto drags to the surface and destroys all that hinders in the lower region. And there's plenty to hinder that has been accumulated over the many, many years. So let's just say Master DK is training those who work toward the first, the second, and more recently, but not in the beginning, toward the third initiation. And I think, all of us, we're going to find ourselves in such a position, like Alice Bailey and Roberto Assagioli. They had passed the third degree and they were being trained for the fourth, but that was not so much the business that he was writing about, or that was not so much the business of the people that he had taken on as students. Okay. We have reached a point in our consideration of the science of triangles. Let me make this just a little bit, something about having it a little bit bigger will help us. Yeah. All right. We've been studying, and pretty soon I'm going to start asking you some questions that will call upon your power of combination. Zodiacal, planetary, even solar. So just be ready. Be ready for that. We have reached a point in our consideration of the science of triangles wherein we can pause for a minute to consider our next approach to this subject and choose the theme by means of which we can throw more light upon it. Light is interesting. sometimes we think we see light, and it's just the stream of that which is illuminated by the light. Light is that which brings other things into visibility. But I'm not saying it's impossible to see the photons of light, at least evidence of them. So we want to throw more light upon this great science. He says of astrology, it's the greatest and oldest of all the sciences. And it seems to me the science of triangles is a very powerful part of it. It should now be obvious to you, I guess we can ask, is it, that this science of triangles concerns the beneficence of deity, you know, the goodwill, the love, the goodness, the beneficence, bene, of deity, and that through the intricate combinations of cosmic, you know, beyond our solar system, systemic, solar systemic, and planetary triangles, the purposes of God are working out. Well, you know, I think he said astrology was one of his, probably his most occult, esoteric, most esoteric book, because it dealt entirely with energies. So we're not really going to learn the science of triangles and how to judge what triangles are active in our life and in the larger situations. Excuse me, unless we put a little bit of astrology under our belts as well. You don't have to be a professional astrologer. Alice Bailey was not a professional astrologer, and we don't even know whether she knew how to actually draw up a chart. They had another guy there, William Miller, and he was the man who was drawing up charts in those ancient days when we couldn't put the data in the computer and save 100 times the time that it took to do a chart. Or at least, you know, it was all done very quickly. Those purposes of God, and when we talk about God, I mean, you know, deity, who do we mean? I mean, we are ourselves a deity. That's what St. Paul said. Know ye not that ye are gods? He said of us as a monad. But deity is our planetary logos and all the other logoi in our solar system. And deity is our great solar logos. What, you know, we can call them SOL, soul, or Helios, HELIOS. It has different names. I'm wondering if one of his names is Martanda also. Seems I got that from the Secret Doctrine somewhere. Anyway, that's a deity, okay? And when you look at the cosmic logos, who embodies the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one, that's a deity. Our sun and our solar logos is a definite heart center within that being. And that's a deity, and on it goes until we reach the highest of the deities for this universe. Okay. So, and you know, the thing about the second ray here, especially combined with the third ray, as Master DK has both of those rays, just the way the Buddha did, well, it is intricate. There's a lot of this is connected to that, to this, to that, you know. It's like, oh, if you had to untie all this, how would you do it, you know? But we can learn, and we can learn the triangles that occur on the same level, planetary, solar, cosmic, supercosmic, galactic, you know. That'll be interesting when we see what kinds of triangles can be made galactically. You can be pretty sure that our Milky Way and the galaxy Andromeda will be in such a triangle. What will be the third party? There would be speculation. So anyway, it's all motivated by love. Now, sometimes we forget that because we've made so many mistakes as a human race that life is much harder than it really needed to be if we had followed the good law. But we didn't. And free choice prevailed. Okay, motivated by love. And it is through all of these intricate relationships, same level, different level, that love expresses itself and brings about the needed changes for that expression. And human consciousness is brought to the required state of inclusiveness. Now look, you are not, and I am not, inclusive of the whole universe. We're not even inclusive of our galaxy. We're not even inclusive of an arm of our galaxy. We're just learning the ABCs of inclusiveness. Maybe we're, you know, learning our planet is a little more intricate than we thought, and we're kind of looking at the different maps DK provided us with, and we're trying to learn how to be part of that. And we're looking at the maps of the solar system, and we're trying to a little bit learn to be part of that. But when it comes to the next step up, where you have 7 solar systems, forget it. We just don't know. You can just assign different stars as different chakras. Okay, that, you know, and maybe you're correct, but we're not really participants in that yet, and neither are the high initiates, like the Christ and the Buddha. They will be, of course. And so always more and more inclusiveness, especially when we are beings who come from a planet which has such a strong second ray as we do. And there's a lot of what we could call inclusiveness about the first ray as well, in terms of the power of identification. And, you know, so I kind of ask a little question here. When, you know, we've been studying this for quite a while. You know, I just remembered when it was time to begin a new work. and say, well, look, we're doing very well with this meditation broadcast, which is just the way, I'm very close to the way DK wanted it to be, and Tuya is presenting these on a weekly basis. So we're certainly doing what the master wants. But what about going very esoterically into it? And do you feel more inclusive for having studied the science of triangles? I'll just give you a moment to think it over. There should be a net gain in value, don't you think? It's not just a bunch of words running around your head. When you look out at the world, there should be a greater sense of participation. And when you go out under the starry sky, or a sky when you can see certain planets, and maybe Venus and Jupiter are visible, two benefic planets as they are called, and then you think of the Earth, you know, they have those telephones now with an app that you can just shine it in that direction, and it shows you what constellations or planets are under you or over you, even if the sky is brilliant with sunlight, it'll still tell you. Do we feel the relationship between Venus, Jupiter, and our Earth? Because if we did, we would know something a little bit more about the causal body, about the egoic lotus. And you know, we can extend that. When I look at Mercury and Venus, and then I connect it with Earth, do I feel somehow I'm participating in a relationship? When I look at Venus and Mars and the Earth, do I feel I'm participating in a relationship with a certain quality? Well, you can say, okay, Michael, that seems pretty far out there, you know? I have enough troubles right here where I am. But remember, those qualities that originate in these distant objects are very much affecting how you handle your incarnated life. So you develop a certain power of combination. What makes a good astrologer is to be able to put two things or three things together and say that together they mean this. These are the interactions, these are the dynamics, these are the conflicts, these are the points of cooperation. DK is a very, very good astrologer, and a wise esoteric astrologer. And he set an example for us. And most of the things that we have to put together in triangular form, well, they have to do with beings in kingdoms which exist on planets. They have to do with planetary centers. They have to do with nations and cities within those nations. And then they have to do with how to triangulate the nations themselves. And then they have to do with the globes that are in a particular planet, if I can, yeah. I want to be nice if I could find that, huh? Like that. Look at those globes. Look how they're triangulated. We're going to learn about that eventually. And then they have to do with how to triangulate whole planetary schemes. And look at all those triangles. And of course, they mean more and more. And as your abstract mind develops and your intuition develops, then you'll be able to know the meaning of the geometry that you see in front of you, and the squares and the triangles and the whatnot that you see. See, looking right there, the great pattern of 3 and 4 is preserved. 3 sacred, 4 non-sacred. 3 of aspect and 4 of attribute. It's all preserved. You can only imagine the care which Master DK in those days, it's not like you have computer assisted design or something. Back 100 years ago, you've got a drafts person, and DK is instructing how to do this with all of the hidden implications. And then, you've got triangles connecting you and another planet with the sun, our sun. And you have triangles connecting our sun with 2 other suns. And you have triangles connecting a sign of the zodiac with 2 suns, or maybe 2 signs of the zodiac connected with 1 sun. All these triangles have a meaning, and they are operating behind the scenes. And then you could just go on and on connecting things in a triangular manner, very inclusively, until you're connecting galaxies and families of galaxies, and until one day the whole network of the universe stands clear before you. And that would be, we are to expect that, as it has happened already forever, infinitudinous times. So, I'm here in a way. One of the things I want to do is break up our concrete notions of the systems we are living in. Those concretions, concrete mind and all that, it's okay as far as it goes. It's just not expansive enough. It's not true enough. It's not real enough. I'd like to start on the road of breaking those things up and of hierarchicalizing all the beings involved. In the universe, there's a tremendous hierarchy, of which our little hierarchy is simply a part. So how do you climb that hierarchy? If I was to go, give you an idea, okay? If I was to go here, the cosmic fire, and I was going to go to page, I'm going to take the leap. Oh, darn. I leapt all right, but I wonder if I leapt to the wrong place. Let's see. Kingdoms. I should know this. It should be maybe like 500 and somewhere in there. Yeah, well, maybe that'll be it. Yeah, look at this here. This is a story about Spirille and higher beings and still higher beings. And it's all arranged as we would expect in that wonderful cosmic fire book in order, up to the greatest and down to the least. And it's a study of permanent atoms. Now, if I were to go to page 600, I have a feeling I'm close, but well, here's another list of the most important rays and principles and chains and planes and you name it. And that's not just a bunch of numbers. All of that is extremely relevant to what's going on right now. And here are the tabulations on all the different numbers. And of course, you can triangulate. Let's see, I want to try 4 non-sacred planets. Okay, we're not going to, it's not going to work for me. And when I think that I had it so close and would never forget this, kingdoms, planets, well, maybe one of those will help. I get very stubborn, you know, when I have lost something. Anyway, I can't find it for you right now, but I knew it, and I think it's 600 and something. So maybe you'll be able to find it if you look for it, and it has all the beings that are living on our earth in hierarchical order. And yeah, well, anyway, someone find that for me, won't you? And kingdoms and lunar lords and all that kind of thing. I'll try one more thing, because it's just an amazing chart. Lunar lords, and I suppose if I was patient enough, if I was really patient enough, this would appear. But am I? Uh-huh. Well, I'm just not patient enough. All right, I'm going to let it go, which is hard. Now, going back to where we were, all of these triangles that affect us give us the divine purpose, and they're motivated by love. And big changes are brought about because of them. And we should know them if possible. It is through the squares or the quaternial relation that the form aspect is brought into relation and adequacy to the will of deity, expressing itself through gradually unfolding consciousness aspect. So basically, when you look at your chart and squares are there, the focus is the form and getting the form into the adequate condition so that it can withstand the power of spirit. Oh, you know, some of us are just terrible. A number flashes into your mind, and there it is. 844. Look at that. This is going all the way from the three major logoi, planetary logoi, dealing with final cosmic initiations, probably the three synthesizing planets, the minor planetary logoi, and down and down and down. Matter of fact, maybe Joe or Michael, would you copy these 12 and just put it on a Word doc, and let's get it for people to be able to reference, because
Sure, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you. It really does tell one of the major stories about hierarchy. I had referenced 344, which is our big map, but it was 844, and it's just amazing how one group goes into another group, into another group, into another group in this great evolution. Okay. So anyway, squares, one of my friends, good astrologer, he used to joke, the personality loves trines, but the soul loves squares, he used to say. So anyway, when you're dealing with triangles, you're dealing more with consciousness. When you're dealing with squares, you're dealing with form. Now, we've all seen the little kids, they draw a square, then they draw a hat on the square that's like a triangle. Little do they know, they've drawn the Masonic apron, they've drawn the relationship between consciousness and form. When they draw a house, that's what they seem to do. The triangle above the square. He says, DK says, I'm explaining this situation in these simple words because it must be apparent to you that only as the soul illumines the mind can the significance of the teaching be grasped. Now, every one of us, there's something we want, and the question is, do we have it? Do we have the mind held steady in the light of the soul? Do we have the mind held steady in the light of the soul? That's what meditation is all about, to achieve that relationship. So DK is cautious. What he does sometimes speaks with complete simplicity and sometimes speaks in such a way and says, you will not really grasp what I say. So anyway, Squares are forms, and triangles, well, actually, you know, he does it in a different way too. He says that stars are consciousness, stars of consciousness. You may have in your horoscope a complete star, a partial star needing for you to complete it, and that triangles are of the spirit. Interesting, right? But from another point of view, triangles do reflect consciousness. So I'm explaining the situation in these simple words because it must be apparent to you that only as the soul illumines the mind can the significance of the teaching be grasped. There's so many bright people, smart people with a complicated mind and ability to arrive at this or that. But the soul is not illuminating the mind. They just have a sharp mind. It is only when the stage of initiation is reached that the true meaning will emerge. In the meantime, I have sought to awaken in your minds, now note this, a reaction to the abstract truth behind the following statements. You know, DK, so much of his writing is taking us into the abstract mind. Lying behind the two following statements, let's hope they're not too long, and I think, you know, we're reaching the point. This material is so very rich. That we have to do our best to cultivate our inner esoteric and intelligence to really grasp what it's all about. Nobody can say that Master DK ever talked down to us, but he does present points of view which are beyond our normal points of view. And so from that perspective, he inspires us to reach for the higher point of view. So basically he says here, I have sought to awaken your minds, and think of that when you're a teacher in your own group or in the Moria Federation group. You're there partially to awaken minds and hearts too. Lying behind the two following statements. One, the science of triangles is related to the total expression of the divine triplicity of manifestation. This you could pretty well figure out, right? Will, love, and intelligence. And then he says, or life. Is it intelligence or life? Or is it all these that come out of life? Oh, I see what I did. Life is will, he's connecting. Consciousness, he's connecting with love. And form, he's connecting with intelligence. It's not a straight connection, but it is influential. Until, therefore, the disciple can express in himself the integrated semblance to these three aspects, because we're not going to get the whole thing, you know. It's what within us is associated, related to the big three. Until he can express the integrated, note, integrated, will, love, and intelligence integrated. It's like having an integrated egoic lotus, he will not be able to grasp the meaning of this subjective astrological science. So what I've written here is that we have to have the triangle of the first aspect of divinity, second aspect of divinity, third aspect of divinity, alive and well within our energy system. And if we are not, this I'm speaking symbolically here, if we are not triangular, we cannot connect with the triangles and cannot understand the vast science of triangles. Well, if you want to take the third initiation, you better have this chakra, this big chakra, and the chakra in back of your skull activated. And that would allow the taking of the third initiation. So if I say to you, the following triangles have to be activated if you want to know the meaning of the subjective astrological science. Aries, Leo, Capricorn, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Capricorn is the only one that is repeated. And that will give you the three triangles of divinity, which bring in the first three aspects. Now, we're going to study that together coming up. We're going to study what happens when you have Aries, Leo, Capricorn. Why is that triangle so related to the first ray? What does it have to do with your life? What does Gemini, Virgo, Pisces have to do with the second ray in your life? And what does Cancer, Libra, Capricorn have to do with the third ray in your life? Now there's one more thing here. I know I've been talking a long time, but that gives you a chance to take notes and discuss what you might want to discuss. And here, Joe has written that, and we'll have to take a look at what some of you have written. On our planet, the science of triangles is related to the three major aspects as they express themselves through Shambhala, the hierarchy, and humanity. It's really a 1, 2, 3, isn't it? And not only that, but our planet is set up like a 1, 2, 3. First ray monad, second ray soul, third ray personality. 1, 2, 3. Again, therefore, we come up against the need for the approach of the integrated human being to this science, because now, here's qualifications. Only the man who is responsive to these three focal points of energy can understand their interplay. And I've shown you those three triangles of Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity from the past, at the present, and into the future. Only, in fact, can the man apprehend the underlying truth, whose two head centers and his heart center form a triangle of flowing energies. I suppose what we mean is the center on top of the head and the ajna center and the heart center. And there's another clue about depth of understanding and where we get it, and how over a number of lives these chakras are activated so they swing into each other's aura and get united. And I have asked questions. The point is that we have attained an integrated response to the triangular configuration of all things, if we understand the science of triangles. We must be triply integrated beings to respond consciously to the triangles and understand the science of triangles. So look, we're responsive to humanity. We're increasingly responsive to hierarchy, increasingly, but a lot remains to be done. And you might as well say that when it comes to responding to Shambhala, there may be a few disciples of Shambhala somewhere around, but the average disciple is not responsive to Shambhala, not yet. End of webinar 64, meaning end of 64. And I think we're probably still on the same page. We haven't gone very far. 479, 478, 470, 478. Okay, so right. And basically, I'll try to do this the right way. I'm sure there are people who could straighten me out on the matter. This is the end of 64, page 478, and beginning of triangle 65. Um, 478. Okay, and now I have to go back and correct what I did incorrectly here. So beginning webinar 64, end of webinar. I don't need that. All right. I think, friends, you can see increasingly as you study the Tibetan, what a gift he has given to the types of human beings who can be responsive to him. The great divine wisdom, the great theosophy of which we touch the surface, the smallest amount, and he would say, I'm giving you the ABCs, and I myself know only the tiniest fragment of the ageless wisdom which remains to be learned. Now, I know I've jabbered on here, and probably get, my conscience will get me. Is there anybody, now to see Joe, you can help orient me here. Is there anybody that
Judy, or Jay, who is Judy, yeah, I put her amended comments in the chat box.
Got it.
Together.
I think I have it. Do you want to read that, Joe? Michael often reads.
Sure. The science of triangles has allowed me the ability to mentally connect with much information that I by myself would never have had access. These connections are created by the love we have for one another, and it has taught me in some small measure about my brothers the planets of our solar system, and I need to add my friends from the angelic kingdoms. All are interconnected. And she had one last piece of that, I'll find, and work together to fulfill the plan.
Yeah, you know, thanks, Judy. And thanks, Joe. Everything is interconnected, and in a way that reflects the quality of what's called pure reason on the Buddhic plane. Now, whether divine vision and pure reason go together, let's just say that's one of the great qualities of Buddhi, is pure reason. And Buddhi really means wisdom in a way. And so the right connections between things, even between people, DK starts at the very bottom in a way, and he connects people with each other. Now I learned there's a certain diagram that has 9 points, and yet it has 4 triangles. And he put people in certain triangles according to their connection. Now, Tuya and I don't pretend to be doing that. It would take a huge study, and we wouldn't even come near what the master can do. But we're connecting people. We're connecting people with members of the animal kingdom, increasingly, as we try to lift their state. We're connecting people with members of the angelic kingdom, as you say, and on, all types of unsuspected connections are existing, and they fit into the science of triangles. I'm remembering how, was it Master Moria, or who was it, that sometimes the connection is twofold. He was connecting the Buddha and Shankara, and who knows, maybe there's another one, you know. There are all kinds of unsuspected lines of reinforcement going on esoterically. And we're learning by our little participation in the science of triangles, we are learning some of the esoterics of those amazing, very close connections and very distant connections, all of which exist. You know, I'm pretty sure when you connect our Milky Way and Andromeda with those billions of stars, that there's another galactic point somewhere that will triangulate them. So all the way from the very simplest to the multiplex, this triangles thing is organizing the ether of space. The whole web of space is being organized. And when you think of what a, well, you know, if you're a diver into a swimming pool, and you like to have a diving board with a lot of spring to it, you know, so you can really go up in the air and do whatever you have to do and come down the right way. And when you think about the springboard or diving board, which DK has given to us, so we can plunge into the great ocean of wisdom, the appreciation for it just grows year by year. And you just have, it just reduces you to a condition of awe and gratitude and respect. We've been given so much we don't even know what we've been given. So we have no excuses but to become the mind held steady in the light of the soul, and the soul-infused personality held steady in the light of the monad, and so forth. So thank you.
Michael, sorry.
Tuya, dear, go ahead.
Yes, yes. Beautifully said what Judy was saying. Thank you. I was just thinking something related to great invocation, and could you put a little bit, scroll a little bit above what was where it was saying about these points, 3 points, what we just read that. Can you go above a little bit?
I'm going to try to find my place.
No, you were just where you were writing. Just scroll a little bit above the text. No, not those. It is in that text what you were reading from the esoteric astrology.
Joanne, can you or Michael, can you help me get oriented?
That text where you wrote again that where you have been ending.
Okay.
It's
okay.
the 1
now
and 2 points that you read.
I'm getting a little less dull.
Yes, and scroll upwards. We just read that from there. Somewhere. Now you go too far, I think. Where it was
just a little
about
bit down. The 3 focal points of energy that are underlined there, that text.
Right. And I'm thinking about, because science of triangles is belonging to this coming science of invocation. And every triangle work that we do, we are supposed to sound the great invocation. And I'm just trying to understand about what is that deep secret behind that we are supposed to sound the great invocation, and how it was released that not all masters were for that it should be could be given even to humanity. So in that invocation, there's something so deep what we should think about every day. And so there are these 4 stanzas, and you were pointing out about these 9, the group of 9s, which forms the 4 triangles. I don't know, are they connected? But it just came to my mind that from the point of light, from the point of love, the center where the will of God is known, center which we call the race of humanity. What do these mean? And because it is related to that, because it is building the Antakarana, and we know that Antakarana is triangular in formation. So we have to have all of these 3 in balance. But somehow it is related to the 4 as well. That it's like this rectangular, which is divided into triangles. The secrets of the etheric body, but it is related to our ability to sound and use our throat center. So for me, that is a great mystery. I am trying all the time to understand what it really means, and what does it build, and how it is activating these 3 centers within us. I don't know. Can you say? Can you say anything?
Probably. You have said more than I can say. But this is the diagram that I had in mind today, to look at telepathy as a book upon which commentary could be made. And voila, here are the 9 points and the 4 triangles, and this is the diagram for the group of 9. So in the center are the people who have a somewhat greater responsibility because they are each of them a member of 2 triangles. And this is inescapably related to the triangles work. So I just wanted to say
and that is, Michael, and this is the formation which takes us closer to the planetary heart. So
yes,
so that's why this is so
correct.
occult simple.
Yes, very extremely so. Extremely so. So I just consider myself lucky because I had been I had been looking for this thing for a long time, and I couldn't find it. And let's see if I have anything here. Picture. Now
You have it.
Now I have it.
Right.
Now I have it. And this is what we'll discuss with people as we work in the esoteric United Nation and in general, the groups of 9. Now, DK knew exactly what he was doing and
So
why
can
he
we
would.
put,
Yeah.
I'm just
He
wondering
knew.
about these 4 stanzas, that how they are related to this.
And it might be here as well that you would find that. Yes, that's very possible.
Because he said about this, the great invocation. It is in hidden way. It is for us the formula how we go closer to hierarchy, and how plan is. Our dog is snoring again, so it's not me.
Okay, indeed. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, just to preserve this, I'm going to call this thing, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to have to do it a different way. Hold on. And I'm just going to call this thing Hidden 9. Okay? And now I'll never lose it again, right? Hidden 9. And
you could put the groups of 9 as well, if you need to try to find it, because it is groups of 9.
Okay. Groups
of 9.
Okay, here we go. All right. Oops. But now it will have to do. All right, there we go. And I'll work on. Yes.
Because I think it is something like related to invocation. This formula.
I think so too.
All triangle work is related to the science of invocation. So we cannot just jump over that fact. And because the humanity is throat center, so whenever we invoke in the triangle work or in the triangles, we awaken the planetary or Antakarana of humanity, because it takes us towards hierarchy.
Yes, I believe that to be correct. Well, look, we're going to be discovering the esoteric layers which lie beneath these symbols. So, we don't have it all yet, but it will increasingly be ours. So now we know where this is. And gosh, Joe or Michael, I wonder, I'd like to send that to you. So the other people, those attending.
Can you put, Michael, put the page there? It was Was it
We can send that out to people.
Okay, and
and
you can, and what page was it? Here it is,
it was something
163 of telepathy and the etheric vehicle. 163 of telepathy and the etheric vehicle. And this was basically inside the Arcane School and the Lucis Trust. DK had some older students who were theosophically very experienced, and he would put them in the central triangle so they could hold the 9 together. Okay, all right, good. That was profitable that we rediscovered that. Okay, thank you, Tulia. Now let's see. I don't even know where I am anymore, frankly. Telepathy. Here we are. Okay. Now, I guess what I'm doing is asking, and a few people have responded, if there are any further thoughts about these matters. We haven't covered a lot of pages, but we have looked at the whole idea of the square, the triangle, the divine triplicity, here in point number 1, the necessity to integrate the first, second, and third aspects in order to be truly in touch with the planetary triangle of the utmost importance called Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, and how basically that leads you into the third initiation. There's one place that I would like to quickly go, if I can do it in the right way. You know, obviously, this computer is groaning under excessive weight. And, okay, here we go. And let's see, quickly. Date modified. Oh, it's going to take me just a little while, but not too long. If you can see the F, there it is. Let me know. Okay. And now I forgot I forgot what I was looking for. Isn't that terrible? Any ideas? Okay. Okay. Well, it had to do. Oh, yeah. Okay. Glamour project. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to use Science of Triangles. I'll do that. Science of Triangles. And this is the, oh, that's not it, but it's close. The Science of Triangles, major document. Does anybody see Shambhala here? Let's see if I can find this quickly. Shambhala, give me a break. Come on now, no items match. Well, you know the one I'm talking about. It has to do with, thank you for your patience, even if it doesn't exist. And the diagrams, and here are our diagrams. Okay, I want to just get this correct. Okay, well, it's not going to do this for me, but it's getting so hard to find these things. Esoteric triangles, and here is the, well, I feel sorry that I'm taking your time and I'm not finding what I want to find. Okay, so really what I want to find is, I have so much here, it's just too much. So triangles project. Okay. If I don't succeed here, then I'm just going to forget it. Okay, I will forget it. And then maybe it'll come up later accordingly. Is there anybody else who would like to say
Michael,
anything or ask?
I want to make
Yeah.
one note. In searching for the diagram, what I discovered is that there are actually two. The one that you want to have shared is on page 163, according to the Lucis Trust website. And there's a second one that is the circle with the triangle in the middle and the petals of the lotus that is actually on page 165. So I'll send both of those with the page references.
That's fine. There's another one that shows Shambhala hierarchy and humanity. And that's the one I'm really looking for. And here, you know, in the AB, in the diagrams, it just appeared. Joe, will you please keep a record of where this came in?
Yes.
This is it. All right, wherever that came in, and I'm not sure yet.
Those are from esoteric psychology and astrology, Michael, what you have now.
Okay, is it so? Anyway, I know where to find it now, but just take a look at it. Now, why that's important is, you are not in an integrated state, I am not, and neither is the planet. In the past, humanity struggled towards Shambhala, hierarchy inspired them, and Shambhala contacted hierarchy. In the present, Shambhala is making impacts, and humanity is struggling towards hierarchy, but hierarchy, strange as it seems, has not yet become fully, integrated with Shambhala. Now, in the future, this triangle will be complete, or this, and the heart. The Shambhalic chakra, the hierarchical chakra, and the human chakra will all be interconnected, and they'll be going in both ways. This is the integrated picture. We are not there yet. And most of us are pretty, passive. 1825. How did it go? 1825, 1975, the year 2000, and those have been the recent Shambhala impacts. There have been some lesser ones, and there have also been the great decision of 1903, 1952, 1854, I suppose, 2001, and 2050. Those are huge Shambhalic events, but they are not called yet a Shambhala impact. So you see, we are very far in terms of mutuality to completing the future integrated condition. Now, you can complete your integrated condition much faster than the Earth will complete its integrated condition. And when you have done that, then you can become the true initiate of the third degree, because an aspect of Shambhala, an aspect of hierarchy, and the intelligence of humanity are all working together in some kind of integrated coordination. This is the kind of integration you need. Otherwise, we leave the monad out of it, and you have a lesser integration, which will take you up to the third degree, maybe, or just about there, but not any further. Okay, so wherever this is, and I'm not sure, Joe, exactly where it is. It's in 4 triangles, 9 points. So it's perfect. I can see this. Triangles, main diagram. You know, I have here everything I need. I just didn't realize it. So just remind me that when it comes to AAB diagrams, which are not the new ones that Tuya did, but which are the old ones, then all these things are here. And here's another one that might be interesting. I don't know. There it is. That's the Antakarana with 3 triangles representing how to put the Antakarana together. And sure enough, friends, we may be increasingly soul infused, but this is just a dotted line of possibility leading to the spiritual triad and monad. Okay. I thank you for letting me take that time. I'm sorry that it took me that kind of time, but at least I know where to find them now. And Joe or Michael, I will try to provide this for you so you can send it out to people. And here is Anne Veronica Christus is saying that this is all closing up into a pyramid. Interesting, Anne Veronica, that it is the tetrahedron, which is based on the triangle, and the pyramid, which is the temple of initiation, is based on the triangle and the square, correct? Like a tetrahedron is a 3-dimensional object with 4 triangles. A pyramid is a 3-dimensional object with, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 triangles and 1 square. So I suppose they both mean different things. The tetrahedron usually means fire, and the pyramid means initiation. Okay. Now. Martha is asking me, Joe, how do we, okay, I found that on 844, correct. And let's see, I've got to make sure I understand Judy's statement here. Joe, besides activating the centers, where does it carry on from? All are interconnected and work to fulfill the plan. Besides activating centers in us, it is connecting us with all the various, right, triangles of light, and to a degree which is ever growing or ever lessening. Here's what we have to do, Judy. We have to keep scope in mind. I once saw an Indian book, and it was, you know, very colorful the way Indian books are. And it said, easy travel to other planets. I don't think I was fooled for a minute. It was one of the rishis who was offering you easy travel to other planets, I would say, yeah, on the astral plane. Whereas DK says that you have to be a master or a 6th-degree initiate to actually be able to leave your planet and travel to another planet. So it's a question always of magnitude. How bright, how strong, how distant, and basically things that are more of the same magnitude can touch, but things that are of different magnitudes cannot touch, because they're just too separated in vibration. Okay, Joe, I had turned you there because there was something going on. Okay. All right, friends, it looks like we are reaching the end. Does anybody have anything? Whoa, 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 whoa. What just happened there? That was a big one. Joe, you are the organizer, and what were you saying?
My laptop computer completely gave up, and I lost everything when I was trying to get the diagrams. So I came in on my phone. I just want to let you know.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll make sure that somehow you have these documents so you can send them to people. Now, is there anybody we're leaving out? I myself don't see anybody, and I do see that we are reaching the end of our timing.
Judy just added a comment. 2 pyramids together with square bottoms together are the octahedron. Octahedron.
If they interpenetrate. They don't stop at the apex, do they? So here, let's do it, Judy. Let's find a way to really make that evident, okay? Let's do that. And each one of these, that's it. Okay, so there it is. So basically, the picture proves your point. That's how it looks. And there is one interior surface, which is larger than all the others, and 8 triangles. The Platonic solids, they have a very deep meaning. And if you want to get into the deepest part of it, the book, The Mathematics of Cosmic Mind by Plummer, Plummer or Mber, Plummer, is an excellent book for the derivation of the 5 Platonic solids possible, at least in our system and in our universe, it appears. Okay, good, thank you. And usually I hear from Vera, so I'm, kind of, I don't want to shock you, but occasionally you speak up and have something to say, nor do I want to close you out when it is possible to say something.
No, I am. I'm fine. I don't have any blood.
You are content at the moment. Okay, very good. All right, friends. Well, as Tuya was saying, the Great Invocation is a tremendous Antakarana building mantra of power and light. Now, how did it come to humanity? It's related to the Christ. We know the story when he decided to undertake this supreme sacrifice, a much greater sacrifice than we can ever imagine, of appearing before all eyes in his Maya Varupa for some 2,000 years. The invocation was released. So isn't it interesting how Sanat Kumara seems to encourage the great Lord toward ever greater sacrifices? And like Moria said, you know, when have you ever become less through sacrifice? Okay, friends, Tuya, would you like to read this? Are you there? Is Sophie going to interfere?
I am here. I can go also to other room because yes, she is
Muted.
our little dog. Sorry. Okay. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
Thank you. Friends,
Thank you.
thanks for bearing with me as I go on one of those hunts. This time it was worth it. Tomorrow morning, Tuya at 6 a.m. GMT, reappearance of the Christ broadcast. And then Glamour on Friday morning. That, by the way, that's, if I may say, for Americans and those who are following it, that looks like the day on which it is to be decided whether the Senate will allow witnesses in the impeachment trial, or whether they will neglect their duty and not allow witnesses. So maybe our little bit of our glamour work can go in the right direction. And then I think on Friday night, if I'm correct, Michael, we have the Cosmic Fire continuation.
Unmuted.
We're really doing the foundation of the book, but you know, it's such a synthetic book. It just about includes everything we can think about. So it's really worth getting in on the ground floor, as it were. And somewhere I think I may have put I may have put the link there, And Joe, has that been sent to people, the general link for the Cosmic Fire, reworking of Cosmic Fire?
Yes, it's been sent. It's posted on Makara and it's posted on campus, and we're sending the whole list out to everyone on Constant Contact.
Very good, very good. Okay, and then Soul of Nations, which will definitely involve some reference to the Esoteric United Nations, will come on Saturday morning, and then the Attracting Resources for Hierarchical Purposes on Sunday morning. So we want to thank you very much for being here with us, and the whole team sends lots of love and many blessings to you. So we will sign off for the moment. Bye-bye.